How's everybody doing today? Today we're going to be doing some clamming. More specifically, we're going to be going for soft shell clams. People from New England will call them steamers. Any way you look at it, they're delicious. So today that's our target. We're going to be out here in the salt marsh doing our thing. So as far as equipment goes, for this type of fishery, you need to buy a certain amount of gear. So here's just a list of stuff that I bring into the marsh with me. The stuff here in the front is going to be the most important stuff. The stuff in the back is the nice to have kind of stuff. So the first thing we're going to need to have is your valid license for the year. Stuff here in Massachusetts, these shellfish beds are managed by the towns. So every town has to have its own license if you want to be digging clams in them. Very important that you bring your own license for that town with you, otherwise you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Shellfish wardens take it seriously. The next thing we're going to need to have is a clam gauge. Clam gauges for the soft shell denote 2 inches on the inside of this gauge here. What that does is that if that clam will slide through the long ways, it's a short. If it doesn't slide through the long ways, it's a keeper. I like to keep mine attached to my basket, that way I don't lose it in the marsh. With a simple shoelace, keeps it nice and easy. Right here, this is called a Clam Basket. This one's a peck size. It's kind of strange, old-fashioned way of measuring stuff. But the baskets themselves are how you measure your catch. When that thing fills up, you are done with soft shell clams in the town that I harvest my clams out of. This right here is the Shellfish Rake. It's going to be how you're going to be digging these clams out of the muck. Depending on where you're trying to harvest your clams out, they might be in mud, might be in gravel. This area here is in a salt marsh, as you can see. It's going to be digging in muck. So it's nice to have a long tine soft shell clam rake, or fork, excuse me, and that way you guys can get your harvest out of the ground. And then you're going to want to bring yourself a pair of gloves. These gloves here are great to have. These ones came with a liner. If it's ever cold out, you can always put the liners in. Keeps yourself from getting cut up. You're going to find a lot of stuff in the marsh. Glass, trash, cans. The shells of these clams are actually kind of sharp. If you get to the oyster beds, you'll definitely see how sharp the shells can get. And that's going to wrap up the stuff that you need to have. You absolutely need to have if you're going to do this. Oh, actually, it does not wrap it up. If you see what I'm wearing right now, I'm wearing hip boots. You're going to want yourself a pair of good footwear out here. If you go and wearing sneakers in the wintertime, you're going to have a bad time. So the next stuff you can look at here is kind of silly stuff, but when you walk into and from the car in the middle of the marsh, you're going to want to have yourself something to bring your catch back and forth with, and also all the tools. This cheap, crappy child sled costs a couple bucks, makes your life a lot easier. This right here, I'll show you guys what I'm going to do with this later, but this is just a laundry bag from your local Walmart or whatever. I use that to wash my clams off with. As you're digging them out of the dirt, they are in the muck, they are quite dirty. You're going to want those clean. And then this cooler, I'll show you what I do with this cooler later. Rhyme and reason to this one. Once you see what I do with it, you're going to probably understand why I do it. But I'll get to more of that later. So before we get started here, I'm just going to show you what we're looking for. Once you're down inside the creek, you're going to see these little holes like this right here. And this, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. What that tells me is that right now I'm standing on top of a really rich area full of soft shell clams. You know what? All these holes are going to be soft shells. You're going to find stuff in the mix, like you're gonna find worms. You know, you see worms. You're gonna find blood worms, some really gross looking tapeworms. If we come across those today, I'll show you. But all this stuff here, this is all just a nice shellfish bed. This town does a really good job managing this shellfish beds. And before you go clamming, you always want to make sure you call ahead. Make sure that your shellfish beds are open. If your shellfish beds are not open, you do not want to be digging clams. They will be contaminated with bacteria. Usually that happens after a significant rainfall. They'll shut down the beds until the clams can clean themselves out. But fortunately today I called ahead. This area is open. So yeah, we're gonna get to it, start digging. Looks like I'm standing right on top of the clams now. What I do is I try to find an area with a lot of holes, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to actually work in that direction. So I'm gonna start my hole where you start, right where you're, right before those holes you see. And then as you work towards those holes, you'll get your clams. You're gonna break clams. No matter what you do, you're gonna break clams. It's unavoidable. Obviously, you want to try to mitigate how many clams. Yeah, see, there's one squirting right there, so that's a soft shell. You want to mitigate how many of these things you kill. It's a resource. Don't want to needlessly kill clams, especially when that's what we're actually going for here. So what I like to do is I like to take the top layer off first, just across like this. This is the start your area that you're going to work. This right here is called a seed. The small soft shell, way short. This is the future. Don't go killing it. You pull a seed, you want to put it siphon up. That's a siphon. The little, you know, the neck of the clam. This always has to face up. So take your clam, bury it behind you, somewhere where you're not going to step on it. Oh, right there, that's a nice clam. These clams are actually pretty shallow. They're only about, I don't know, maybe 6 inches down to the start of the siphon. So just to start it here, right there, it's dinner. All right, so like I said, we haven't even started really our hole yet. And this type of clamming, I like to prep up my hole first and do it well to make it easier in the long run. But if you look, we're still getting down here, and right there you get 2 good keepers and 1 measurer. Remember, the neck doesn't count as part of the measurement, so it's the shell. So you see that doesn't make it through. It's a keeper. Now what I like to do is I build a wall like this. And you can see that there's some holes here and here. It's actually a live clam right there. Keeper. Alright. So once you dig your hole, now we're still digging out live clams out of the yep, that one's good. There's another one that is, it's hard to tell sometimes with these clams. This one here either has no water in it or it's a dead one. Nope, it's alive. Alright. Now I got a nice little wall here. What I do, carefully, see all those holes. These are all clams that I'm working towards. There's a seed clam there. It's a dead clam. And you just take your rake through it. A lot of small seed in this mix, so obviously you want to be very careful with it. Now we can start flipping mud. Right here, it's a nice fryer. Give that a flip and you can see your clams on the flip. Nice, good size steamer. All right, clear that out of your hole. As you move on, you'll see that this right here is a nice flip. We got a dead one. That's a keeper. Another keeper. Another nice keeper right into your peck basket. Bust it up, make sure you don't miss any in the middle. Sometimes you'll have some clams that are actually deeper or shallower than the ones you find, like that one right there. And obviously you want to be careful, because every time you flip, another keeper, the mud, that's worth a measure, but I believe it's a keeper. Every time you flip the mud, you're exposing your clams, you're potentially, another nice keeper, you're potentially killing clams. Let's be realistic, this isn't exactly easy work, so got another nice flipper here. And that's right there is unfortunately what happens when you stab one and you kill it. Got a little overzealous with my flip there. Speared one, but it was a good flip. Alright, so now it's time to show you what the bag is for. So for the walk to the water there, as you can see, I got my full peck, my limit for the day. What I like to do is place this bag over it in case I have one that tumbles out. I tighten this laundry bag, pull the handle up, right down to the water. And this is the important thing. This water, I flip them over in, make sure of that. Alright. So now, I like to use this laundry bag to rinse as much of this mud off as I can. So for you wondering what the cooler's for, why it's nice to have, is what you can do is fill it half, well, try to get it halfway anyways. Halfway with water, with the water that they were living in. Not halfway, but give me enough. So your clams will siphon out the grit inside of them. And that way you have clean clams. I'll let these sit overnight. Tomorrow I'll pull them out of the water, put them to the fridge, sort them by size, get ready to eat them. Alright guys, new channel, first time doing this. Anything you guys can think of that I could do better, let me know. I'll do my best. Alright, so after sitting in the salt water for 12 hours, we got ourselves our sorted out clams. We got the bigger ones on this side, these are going to be my fryers. And the ones over here will be the ones I'll be eating as steamers. Little smaller ones. A lot less work when you get these for fryers. After you shuck them out, shucking them's not easy, which we'll show you how to do in the next video. So we'll do a couple of cooking videos with these clams, and hopefully you guys can do the same when you guys get your own. Alright guys.